I've spoken in previous reviews how happy I am when a game respects my time. I think it's a good thing when games offer additional content to increase longevity, but when that content feels like it's just there to fill out the playtime, then it sours my opinion of the game, and almost feels like a waste of time. Which is one of the main reasons I was not happy with Destiny Connect. Let's talk about the story first. It's New Year's Eve 1999 in the town of Clockney. A 10-year-old girl, Sherry, goes to watch the fireworks with her mum when suddenly time stops. Everyone is frozen, including the fireworks hanging in the sky, and then the town becomes overrun with killer robots. Sherry is one of the few people able to move, and alongside her friend Peregreo and her father's time-traveling robot Isaac, they need to find out the cause of time stopping and return the town to normal. The journey takes them to the past and the future. I actually really like the story. It's a lot more complex than I initially thought it would be, and it wrapped up the plot threads nicely, with callbacks to earlier events that I had forgotten, so that when they revealed the cause of one of those events, or how it was linked to something that's happening in the future, it did feel like there was payoff to paying attention to the story. One problem I did have though, was the characters. I was not a fan of pretty much any of the characters. Both Sherry and Peregreo were annoying, Sherry for being spoilt and Peregreo for being a scaredy cat. Although Peregreo would act scared in every cutscene, and then you'd take him into a fight and he would happily fight these robots, so the character just felt less believable. The game suffers with lack of voice acting. The dialogue can be pretty clunky with some characters referring to themselves in the third person. I think having the characters voiced would have helped in making them more likable. The characters' facial animations are meant to give more personality to the characters and the script, but it seemed like there were a few times when the facial animation didn't match the script. Like at one point one of the characters was trying to thank Sherry and company, but the facial expression he had was kind of angry. I found that the robot Isaac, who had the least dialogue and very little expression, was the most likable one in the bunch. The art style of the game kind of reminded me of Toy Story, in that there's a plastic look to all the characters, and even how they moved and ran was kind of like Woody from Toy Story. Generally the graphics were good, but during some cutscenes the edges became a bit blurred. The music was fine, but I don't think it was well thought out at times. When the mood of conversations with characters changed, the music didn't change to suit the mood. So the music may start out upbeat at the beginning of a conversation, but when it takes a serious turn, the music didn't change, which felt out of place. The battle music though I did like. Destiny Connect is a turn-based RPG. You've got the usual attack and defend, and you have skills which are different abilities that you unlock as you level up. You can also upgrade those abilities. Isaac is different from the other characters, in that you unlock different suits for him that give him completely new abilities. For the first 8 hours of the game, I found battles very easy, and could pretty much get away with winning without having to bother with any of the skills. But as I got further into the game, and especially for the boss fights, I had to use the range of skills available and plan ahead with how different characters' skills will work together most effectively. The boss battles became like mini puzzles, figuring out how to balance defense and offense over a series of moves to maximize the damage I could cause. Overall, I found the battle system to be decent, with a good amount of options and complexity, so that the longer boss battles wouldn't get boring. The battles against weaker enemies was a bit monotonous though. I would just press attack constantly, and every now and again heal. Other RPGs have a repeat button, so you can just repeat the last set of commands. I wish Destiny Connect had that, as I felt quite bored at times of these fights, especially as I got further into the game. What really soured me on the game was the pacing, and how it draws out progress to the point that I considered giving up several times. There are points in the game where you have to go on fetch quests all around town to collect items to make the story progress. You can fast travel to save some time, but you will invariably get into fights with weaker enemies. Enemies are already on the world map, and to start a battle with them you walk up to them and touch them, or they could chase you and touch you. It was hard to avoid fights with weaker enemies, so these fetch quest missions felt like a waste of time, and designed to just add time to the game. Like I said, enemies are on the screen, and they respawn a few seconds after you defeat them, so even if you beat an enemy, if you don't get out of their field of view quick enough, you'll have to fight them again. It completely discouraged me from exploring, because I would have to get into battles with these weaker enemies. Then, the final boss annoyed me so much. I was fighting the boss and doing pretty well, when suddenly a cutscene came along, where the character said they couldn't beat it, and then I had to go on another random fetch quest. After that I fought the same boss again. I won and then it transformed. Which is fine. Many games have bosses that transform into a tougher form, but in this case it also ran away, so I had to fight through 2 floors full of enemies just to get to the final boss again. I was already at max level, so these fights weren't helping me improve my stats, it was just wasting my time. By the time I was done with the 2 floors, I had racked up loads of cash, but the game didn't even give me a shop to buy items or upgrades, which made those 2 floors feel like even more of a waste of time. I got zero benefit to my characters out of it. I was so done with the game, but I saw it through to the end. It lasted 17 hours, and that last stretch added around 2 extra hours, from the first encounter of the final boss to actually beating it. By the time I was done, I didn't even care about what happened to the characters. I was just so fed up already of the game. I realize I've highlighted just one big thing I didn't like about Destiny Connect, but it had such a big impact on me as to dislike this game at times. The story is good, although even that is let down by the characters not being likable. In recent years, we've had games like Bravely Default that allowed you to change the encounter rate so you could choose if you wanted to battle enemies or if you wanted to focus on story and exploration. Destiny Connect desperately needed a system like this, but as it stands, this game is not a recommendation from me. I don't feel like the game respected my time, and really it felt like a chore at times. So guys, were you planning to pick up Destiny Connect? Leave a comment below, and as always, thanks for watching.